Hello, I am so stoked to be here and hang out with you. It's been an amazing event already, and I'm really excited to talk some more about mentorship and sponsorship because it relates to so many of the talks we've had in here. As Mary said, thank you, Mary, for that lovely introduction. I'm Lara. I am a VPE at Fly.io. I have also done a ton of coaching and training and whatever for managers and leaders in this industry. You can find all the slides and the resources at larahogan.me/sponsors. So you've all been thinking so much about how you want to support your team, your company. You're thinking about your colleagues. When you're going back to work, you're probably going to bring back so many lessons and learnings for them. But I want to stop talking about all them. I want to talk about you and help you just sit back, relax, and think about how you might want to grow. Not just in this industry, but overall as a leader. So the work that we do, as so many people have said this, the work that we do is intangible, right? I would place a bet that every single one of you has had that feeling of, am I making any impact at all? Am I making any progress at all, too, in my career? It's so hard to find those tangible reflections of whether anything that we're doing is real or having an impact, especially when we compare it to when we were doing more hands-on work, too. When I think about my career trajectory so far, I recognize that I am where I am today by working with and learning from so many people around me. People at work, people not at work, friends, family, strangers on the internet, many people in this crowd, actually. I am here because of those people, frankly. It's going to be so much longer to get to where we're going if we try to do this all solo. So who have you leaned on and learned from? I want you to take a moment and think about just one person who you'd say has skyrocketed your growth in your career, even if it's from a long time ago. I'm wondering, what specifically did that person do that was some magic for you? What did they do that helped you grow so much? When I ask folks this question, I often hear stuff like, they gave me some advice. They shared some perspective. It's like they could see the future, and they reported back some information that helped me grow so much faster. Or that person asked me a mind-blowing question that gave me that ding, that light bulb moment. They helped me realize something that was mind-blowing and expanding. Sometimes people share some less than joyful examples. The person who helped me skyrocket my growth gave me some really tough to hear feedback, but it was still important for me to actually learn and grow from. But this is the one that I hear the most. 90% of the time when I ask people this question, and I ask it a lot in trainings, people say, for some reason, and I have no idea why, they trusted me and they gave me this project or gave me this opportunity. They threw me in the deep end. I had no street cred to back that up, but for some reason they thought about me, put my name in the ring, and from that it was a huge, expansive growth opportunity. So we tend to categorize all of those skills as mentorship. We use this kind of as a catch-all term here. But in reality, I just listed a bunch of different skills. I have found that the distinction between these skills is really important because we're going to need different flavors of support as we navigate all of the different challenges in our careers. So my goal with this talk is to help paint a picture of the different kinds of support that you can get from the people around you. So let's talk about what it looks like to lean on the right person for the right thing at the right time to really unlock who you want to be. This guy is one of my favorite mentors. His name is John Allspaw. We met when we worked together at Etsy. This is photos from a conference over 10 years ago now. It's unbelievable. I've known him for a really long time. He ended up officiating my wedding. He knows me so well, and he knows specifically what kinds of advice would be helpful to me as I've grown in my career. He doesn't just give me blanket advice that would work for anybody. He knows me so well, he's able to say, hey, given this challenge, here's how I might approach this, or here's what I've seen before, or here's some pitfall that you might want to avoid. This is what great mentorship can look like. The canonical definition that I'm using for mentorship in this talk is giving advice based on someone's experience. So in practice, this looks like the mentor is sharing their perspective, sharing what they've seen work and not work, suggesting some things that this person could try. it may not be only about the mentor's opinions, like John Allspaw gets something lots of research, PDFs of academic papers, which can also be really helpful to folks. But typically, mentorship is about sharing your perspective and your experience so you can help this person grow and basically develop their skills. So when do you do this? Getting a mentor is a smart choice when you're onboarding to a new role or onboarding to a new type of challenge. When you're like, I could really use some advice from someone who's been here before, like in Jakob's talk, right? Talking to your manager, finding out how the people who've trailblazed this path before you have navigated this challenge, it can be extremely useful. Go find a mentor. Because people like to be helpful, right? Giving advice is often the first thing that we think of when someone brings us a hard problem. Who doesn't love talking about your own experiences too and sharing some more stories, right? But a good mentor can give you relevant advice and share their knowledge so that you can tackle that new problem successfully. And they're going to feel great. They're going to feel like they helped. Chrissy Tillman also taught me about how mentors, in addition to giving you advice, can give you visible proximity and tangential relationships to a broader network and to more opportunities. So for sure, having a mentor in someone like John has given me access to so many more people and opportunities, and frankly has really broadened everything for me. So being mentored is learning from this other person's wisdom and experiences and their network too. And research backs this all up. There's this paper that I linked to on the resources page called Strategies for Building an Effective Mentoring Relationship. It was written by the Association of Women Surgeons, which when I first read it was a very different AWS than I was previously familiar with. And this paper is just phenomenal. They talk through how to choose a mentor, how to develop that relationship, the responsibilities of the mentee and the mentor, and so much more. I'm going to highlight just a few things here just to kind of cover the ground for when you're looking for a mentor, what you should be looking for. So as their paper details, a personal fit is important, since differences in values can seriously undermine a mentoring relationship. They wrote that the qualities of a successful relationship include honesty, active listening, flexibility, reciprocity, mutual respect, a personal connection, and shared values. It's a long list, but frankly, without these qualities, you will have a less than productive mentorship relationship, which is a waste of time for you both, right? Mentoring requires an investment of time, of energy, and of emotional resources. Our mentorship relationships evolve over time because we're growing and our mentor is growing. Your mentor should be giving you advice that's current and sensitive to the changing dialogue happening in our industries. Advice that might work for one person's career could destroy another person's career. So a good mentor takes their unique perspective and the context of that mentee into consideration when they give advice. Good mentors are also generous with credit. Mentors should want you to surpass them because ultimately your success is also their success. You should definitely have more than one mentor because, as we all know, no one person can be your everything. As a mentee, you should also develop multiple mentoring relationships throughout your career. And my favorite bit from their paper that really hits home, the workaholic mentor without any personal life may be a great research advisor, but may not be someone to emulate for life balance. So there's going to be people in your life with different strengths, different weaknesses, different amounts of time that they can devote to helping you. Don't put all of your hopes on one mentor. Find a diverse group of folks whom you can learn from as you grow. Sometimes the person that you were hoping could be a great mentor for you just isn't. Maybe they're a great mentor for someone else, just not for you. It's totally okay to end that relationship. The easiest way I've found to do this is to say something like, thanks so much. This has been really helpful. I'm going to practice this when I go back to work. I will definitely holler if more stuff comes up in the future. Short and sweet, right? They'll feel appreciated and you can go on with your day. So I'm going to kind of take a time out from my own talk. I'm going to talk about sponsorship in a second here. But first, I want to be honest about one of my personal biggest pet peeves. It's when people conflate mentorship with coaching. And I get it. When you picture the coach of a team sport, what do you picture them doing? Calling out instructions, giving feedback, diagramming plays. I don't know. I don't play sports. But when I think about this, that description, right, is much like mentors. They're giving advice. They're sharing their perspective. They're giving some direction. But in the workplace and with things like leadership coaches or life coaches, the word coaching actually means something completely different. So I've been trained as a leadership coach, which means that rather than giving lots of advice based on my own experience and knowledge, I instead try to ask lots of genuinely curious, open questions to the person that I'm coaching to help them find out their own answers. So coaching is not at all about telling you what you should do. It's helping to figure out what's actually true for you, because we're all super different humans, right, with different skills and experiences and aims. In coach training, there's actually many weeks where they prohibit you from giving any advice at all, just to help you break that habit of having the next thing you say be, hey, here's what I've seen before. Hey, I've been there. Because it's so important for the other person that you're coaching to actually figure out their own truths, what's going to work best for them. So now when I'm in coach mode, I'm trying to help this other person reflect on where they want to go. What's important or hard or surprising for them, what's deep inside them that can help them figure out what they need to do to get to that next level. But coaching is an entirely different talk unto itself, so I won't go into it too deeply. But I wanted to call it out because it's another important and powerful relationship that you can have that will help you grow and learn outside of a teaching mode like mentoring. So mentoring is perfect for unblocking and onboarding, but coaching is more great for internal growth. So if that's more of what you need right now, I recommend finding a coach. There's people at this conference right now who will happily give you some coaching help. And find a coach instead of asking someone for advice. But here's the real reason why I wanted to come to LeadDev to give this talk. So sponsorship is frankly the most powerful way you can lean on someone for getting to that next level. And I don't mean the money bags kind of sponsorship. Sponsors help us find new opportunities and increase the visibility of our work. Sponsors feel on the hook for helping us level up. They might, of course, involve coaching and mentorship, but their superpower is spotting visible developmental growth opportunities and then putting our name in the ring for them. This is Courtney Nash. I met her also at a conference at a lunch table. I found out that she worked at the book publisher O'Reilly, who's a sponsor in our hall. And I was like, hey, Courtney, I have this book idea. And she very generously gave me her time. She was able to give me some advice, some mentorship. Here's how the book proposal process works. Here's how you write a table of contents. But frankly, what she did for me behind the scenes was way more impactful. It turns out she sponsored me. She helped me put in my ring. She vouched for this project idea. And in turn, it helped me get my first big shot at writing a real print book. Most of the ways that she sponsored me were invisible to me. And that's a crucial part of both mentoring and sponsorship too. So Kat Small made this brilliant illustration. I'll read you the speech bubbles. In the mentorship one, she says, have you tried applying to speak at conferences and meetups already? And in the sponsorship one, she says, I recommended you for this speaking gig. Can you do it? Right? It's huge, hugely different, hugely scary, but also very important.
I hope you're enjoying this video, but did you know LeadDev has a lot more to offer?
When I think about LeadDev, I think about bricks and hearts. Bricks are those foundational things that you need to know. And LeadDev provides that through webinars, through videos, through cutting edge research. But hearts are the things that you need to glue yourself to the people at work. And LeadDev does that through conferences and meetups.
Make sure you check out leaddev.com.
Economist and professor Amini Ibarra says, in mentorship, the connection to actually getting promoted and actually getting developmental assignments has been kind of diluted. Sponsorship has to do with fighting to get somebody a promotion, mentioning their name in an appointments meeting, and making sure that the person that you're sponsoring gets the next assignment and gets visible and developmental assignments. Of all the skills that I've talked about here, sponsorship is the only one that is directly correlated to career trajectory. As Kate Huston says, mentors give perspective, sponsors give opportunity. This is because to sponsor someone, if that sponsor feels on the hook to help you to grow, they'll raise up your name to help you get more opportunities to do visible, valuable work. totally, sponsorship can also involve coaching and mentorship, but that's not why it's so effective. As Kate says in her excellent blog post, which I linked to on the resources page, sponsorship can be super small, too. It's really likely that you've already had a sponsor in your career, and you've probably even been a sponsor for someone, too, even if you didn't know it. Anytime someone invites you to shadow them at an important meeting or tells your manager that you're doing a great job, that's sponsorship. And it is incredibly effective, again, way more so than mentorship. On that resources page, I linked to a ton of studies that measured the career benefits of sponsorship. But this one is my favorite because it makes me laugh. What on earth is a statistical career benefit? So this study found that when folks have a sponsor, they are way more likely to do things like ask their manager for a stretch assignment or ask their manager for a raise. This is huge. Each of those things leads to so many more opportunities for challenging, impactful work. And obviously, having a higher salary translates to lots more opportunities in the future. I am surprised that more people out in the world aren't talking yet about finding sponsors for themselves. As humans, we naturally go and find, hey, let me go find someone who can give me that advice. It's time to think about who can give me opportunities as well. So you might be wondering, okay, sure, Lara, but like, how do I find that person? Who on earth will want to go out on a limb for me? Your manager is probably the first person who comes to mind, right? Your manager can promote you. They can choose you to lead a project. They're familiar with your work, so they're in a great position to continue to give you opportunities to grow. And they probably already feel on the hook in some way to help you get to that next level. But I'm sorry to say this, just having your manager sponsor you is not enough. It will never be enough. They're just one person. They will have one particular list of places that they can sponsor you for. But there's so much more out there to help you get to that next level. So let's talk about how to find even more sponsors for yourself. This should feel obvious, but I do feel obligated to say it. You have to do good work in order for people to want to be a sponsor for you. Make it easy for someone to vouch for you. Do work that saves people time or money or brain power. Make sure the benefits of your work are visible to other people. Because sponsorship is high stakes. You're effectively asking this person to put their reputation on the line for you. And that relationship is predicated on the power dynamic at play in our workplaces. Sponsors will be leveraging their power and their reputation on your behalf. So make sure that you're doing everything in your power to make that risk worth it. Next, find someone who's kind of around you and your work, someone who knows your work. Maybe they've seen what you're responsible for. They've seen you deliver on projects. They've seen your technical or your leadership aptitude. Again, often the person that you report to, your manager, is the most obvious sponsor for you, but I encourage you to think beyond them to your broader network too. Who else has seen the good work that you do? Who else is qualified to talk about what you've been up to and how helpful you've been to others? Could they be a sponsor for you? Ask them to chat sometime to talk about a specific way that you want to grow. Don't just walk in there and say, hello, could you please put my name in the ring for things? Get as specific as possible. Hey, I'd like to get more practice with public speaking. I know you've done a lot of conference talks. I've got this new talk abstract to submit to LeadDev. Could you give me some feedback on it? Right? That's very specific. That's so tangible. Or, hey, I'd like to be a manager of managers someday. I've heard all these people on LinkedIn talking about how great it is. This person at LeadDev Berlin tried to warn me away from being a manager of managers, but I still do want to go and check it out. Hey, can I shadow a meeting that you're leading sometime? You know, could I see how you're going to, could you give me some feedback on the way that I'm leading this project? Make sure that you back your request up with action. Follow through is critical, right? Again, this is predicated on this power dynamic here. You want to make sure that you're able to follow through with the things that they're putting your name in the ring for. I know that this can feel really risky and you're asking a lot of this person. But remember, people want to be helpful. Like it's just baked in to most of us. And being specific like this makes it so much easier for that other person to say yes. If you have a broad, abstract request, you're making them do more work to figure out how they could be helpful to you. Think of it like giving this person the opportunity to lift up your name and also giving them some supporting evidence that you're going to do great work. Throughout the relationship, keep your sponsor updated on your work, on your progress. Let them know all the ways that your work has been helping others, or delivering on your goals, or helping your team do even more things. Fill them in on what you've been working on too, the roadblocks that you're hitting, where you might need help, stuff like that. And just to underscore this, make sure your work continues to level up those around you. No one wants to coach or mentor or sponsor someone who's being a jerk. I've tried to build my sponsorship relationships by being there for them too, because support doesn't have to be one-sided. I will routinely offer my sponsors, hey, can I help you role play that difficult conversation? Can I give you feedback on something? I can also just offer them a safe space to vent. You may not think that you can do that much to help this person out who's a sponsor, who has all this more power and privilege, but I promise, just creating a healthy and safe space for someone to share what they're struggling with or working through is a gift. So I keep on talking about this topic as if you have multiple sponsors. I do believe that it's really important to keep adding to this crew of people who you can lean on as you grow. Picture it like each different person is a different facet of your ideal unicorn manager. And all together, they make up what I like to call a manager Voltron. You've seen this in your guidebooks. You have a leadership Voltron in the back of the menu of options for today. I was inspired by the 1980s television show about heroes that joined forces to create a gigantic super robot. My manager Voltron is made up of a list of supportive people who I've worked with or leaned on for years. I consider them each to be a different facet of what my imaginary unicorn manager should be. For example, when I'm stumped and my normal tactics won't work, I reach out to my buddy Rafe, who I haven't worked with for probably 10 years because he's so different from me. I share with him my problem, and he has a completely opposite, wild way to respond to it that really honestly opens up my brain to more possibilities. It blows my mind every time. Or when I encounter an executive level problem that I've never seen before, frankly, I reach out to Mary, who will give me tips based on their own experience and to introduce me to other people who can help in more ways too. So you can see how Rafe and Mary are each a different facet of a manager for me. Different perspectives, different skills. This is that multifaceted network of support. As you meet new people at this conference, at work, really anywhere, continuously be on the lookout for people who are going to push you out of your comfort zone, had different levels of experience than you, both more experience and less experience, because those fresh pair of eyes really come in handy. Find people who have experience in a different industry. One of my best mentors is a CFO. I know nothing about her world, and it's so helpful to me. And find people who are good at the things that you're terrible at. To help you with this list, I made you a little bingo card. You can use this bingo card as you think about who could be in your Voltron. There's going to be people who you currently work with, people you've worked with before, maybe people you know on the internet, maybe people you haven't even met yet. I recommend you take some time after this conference to figure out who already fills some of these boxes for you and what kinds of folks you should seek out in the future. So let's look at this at a slightly different angle. We've been talking about how to find a mentor or coach or a sponsor for yourself so you can continue to grow and develop. But looking around this room, you all have so much power. No matter your title, no matter your role, you already have plenty of opportunities to lift up people's names for projects, for speaking gigs, for writing a company blog post. And as you think about who you might lift up for these kinds of opportunities, I want to especially call out that members of minoritized communities tend to be over-mentored but under-sponsored. This means that members of minoritized groups get lots of advice, even unsolicited advice. They get a ton of people offering to take them out for coffee or teach them something new, be a formal mentor, but it is much more rare for them to have people offer help that looks more like sponsorship. Why is this? It's not because people are intentionally ignoring members of minoritized groups, but because of how our brains and social networks work, the people that we name are naturally the people that we're closest to. And more often than not, those people are the most similar to us in a variety of ways. It has to do with this thing called in-group bias. Do a really quick exercise. I want you to take a second and think about the first people who pop into your brain. Let's go back to the beginning of the talk. Who was that person you thought of who skyrocketed your growth? Who's the last person you referred for a job or you did an email introduction for? Who did you last give a book to? And who did you promote recently or give a big project lead-based opportunity? Once you have that list of people in your brain, I'm wondering how many of the people on that list are the same gender as you, same ethnicity, went to the same university as you did, have super similar opinions on cryptocurrencies as you do. If they're very similar to you, this is in-group bias. There's no judgment here. It just takes intention and work to combat this very natural aspect of how we network and support others. Candidly, until I started learning about this stuff, most of the people that I sponsored were white, cisgendered women like me. So since then, I've worked really hard at finding people to sponsor who are people of color and non-binary and trans folks. Honestly, it just takes intention and some effort to combat this very natural aspect of how we network and support each other. But having a sponsor provides enormous career benefits for everyone, especially members of minoritized communities. I linked to a ton of different research on my resources page about the career benefits of sponsorship. In this study, people of color were nearly twice as likely to be satisfied with their rates of advancement when they had a sponsor. And this other study found that with a sponsor, women in science, engineering, and technology fields are 70% more likely to have their ideas endorsed, 119% more likely to see those ideas developed, and 200% more likely to see those ideas implemented. So what are some tactics that you can employ today to be a sponsor for people who don't look like you? Or if you're a member of a minoritized group, how can you be a sponsor to someone with different intersections of marginalization? Take a look at the daily communications that you participate in, your work chat logs, the conversations you have with others, the process for figuring out who should fix a bug or work on a new project, the process for making your team's work visible, architecture reviews, blog posts, like whatever it might be, launch calendars. You might be surprised how many moments there are in an average day to sponsor somebody. As my mentor and sponsor, John Allspaw, says, as you grow as a leader, you must lift up the skills and expertise of those around you. I'd like to take this one step further, that we should also be lifting up the names of those around us for opportunities that we see ahead, and shouting from the rooftops about their really incredible work. Future leaders are all around us. I am so excited to see you go out there and help them skyrocket their growth. Thank you.